The photos surfaced late last night, and within minutes, Atlanta's gossip pages went into full meltdown. Karlie Red, known for her flair for chaos and designer drama, had been spotted at a private event flashing a diamond ring that fans swore looked exactly like Rasheeda's missing engagement piece, the same one Rasheeda tearfully mentioned losing in a vlog just 2 weeks ago. The internet didn't just notice, it erupted. Twitter timelines filled with side-by-side comparisons, Karlie's freshly manicured hand, gleaming under a champagne flute, and Rasheeda's old Instagram post where the same haircut stone caught the studio lights of pressed hair and lip gloss days. "That's the same ring," one fan wrote, "down to the setting." Others argued maybe it was coincidence. But the whispers grew louder when someone claimed the ring was custom-made engraved with the initials K and R. Sources close to the production crew say, Rasheeda was blindsided when she saw the photo during filming. According to one insider, she stopped mid-scene, stared at the screen, and said quietly, "That can't be my ring. Unless she went through my things." The room froze. Even producers, usually immune to the cast's theatrics, didn't know whether to keep rolling or step in. As rumors spread, fans began digging. They discovered that days after Rasheeda's ring went missing, Karlie had suddenly posted about a mystery gift from a special friend. The caption ended with a heart and lock emoji. At the time, no one paid attention. Now, with the resurfaced image, people are demanding answers. Karlie hasn't addressed the scandal publicly, but she added fuel to the fire this morning when she posted an Instagram story with the caption, "If it's mine, it's mine." No tags, no context, just the ring glinting in the reflection of her mirror selfie. Rasheeda, on the other hand, shared a cryptic quote hours later, "God reveals everything in time." The situation has already split the love and hip-hop fanbase. Team Rasheeda believes this was deliberate, a calculated move to embarrass her during an already tense season. Team Karlie insists it's a misunderstanding or, better yet, a publicity trap set by producers. Still, the question remains, how did Karlie end up wearing that exact ring? Was it stolen, borrowed, gifted by someone they both know? Or is this the beginning of another Atlanta feud that will make even Kirk's old scandals look mild? As new footage leaks and insiders keep talking, the tension around the two women is reaching a boiling point. Friends are choosing sides, the internet is playing detective, and VH1 cameras are rumored to have caught a confrontation so explosive it had to be cut from the final edit. Whatever the truth is, Atlanta hasn't seen a storm like this in years, and everyone's watching to see who speaks first. Under the dim lighting of the lounge, the tension could be felt like static in the air. The party was supposed to be low-key industry friends, a few cameras, nothing serious, but when Karlie Red walked in wearing that shimmering diamond ring, every head in the room turned. She knew exactly what she was doing. She smiled, tossed her hair, and let the sparkle of the ring catch the light each time she reached for her drink. Whispers started instantly. Someone at the back gasped, "Wait, isn't that Rasheeda's ring?" And just like that, the room shifted. Phones came out, flashes began to pop, and within minutes, the footage was online. Rasheeda had been home that night, scrolling through her feed after a long day at her boutique. She wasn't expecting drama. She'd been quiet lately, staying out of mess, focusing on her family and business. But when she saw the picture, Karlie's hand, the ring, that unmistakable shine, her jaw dropped. She zoomed in, blinked twice, then called Kirk into the room. "Babe, look at this. Tell me that's not my ring." Kirk squinted at the screen, trying to stay calm. "Nah, that can't be." But before he could finish, Rasheeda cut him off. "Don't play with me. You know I had that ring custom made. There's no way two rings look exactly like that." She stood up, her voice rising with every word. How does Karlie even have something like this on her hand? Within an hour, Rasheeda was on the phone with production, demanding answers. They told her they didn't know anything, that maybe it was coincidence, but the tone in their voices made her suspicious. It wasn't the first time producers had stirred something up to boost ratings. But this was personal. The ring had gone missing weeks ago after a shoot at her boutique. She'd searched everywhere, even questioned her assistant. It just vanished. She had finally accepted that it was gone until now. By morning, blogs had picked up the story. Karlie Red flaunts Rasheeda's missing diamond ring. One headline read. Another one said, "Atlanta scandal brews over a stolen ring and broken trust." The comment sections were wild. Fans took sides, calling it betrayal, some saying it was all for clout, others claiming Karlie had crossed a line no one should cross. Rasheeda tried to stay composed, but inside, she was boiling. She texted Karlie directly, "We need to talk. Immediately." Karlie replied hours later, cool and detached. "About what?" Rasheeda stared at the message for a moment, then typed back, Don't act dumb. You know exactly what. Karlie left her on read. That silence was louder than any insult. By afternoon, cameras had been set up for what producers called a casual lunch scene. Everyone knew it was about to turn into something else. The meeting was set at a rooftop restaurant overlooking downtown Atlanta. When Karlie arrived, she wore a white jumpsuit, her hair slicked, sunglasses low, and yes, the ring still on her finger. Rasheeda was already there, waiting with a straight face, her phone on the table recording everything. "So you really came here like this," she said, gesturing at Karlie's hand. "You didn't even have the decency to take it off." Karlie smirked. "Why would I? It's mine." Rasheeda's eyes narrowed. "Yours, girl. That ring was on my finger for 2 years. Kirk gave it to me on our anniversary. I lost it after that shoot, and now suddenly it's on your hand. Explain that." Karlie took a sip of her drink. "Maybe your man had a duplicate made." The tone of her voice was cold, deliberate. Rasheeda froze. "What are you saying?" Karlie leaned back. "I'm saying maybe Kirk's been more generous than you think." That line landed like a grenade. Producers tried not to react, but the tension was visible. Rasheeda's hands trembled as she set down her glass. "You're lying? You're lying through your teeth." Karlie shrugged. "Believe what you want. All I know is this ring was given to me, and I didn't steal a thing." Back at home, Kirk watched the live playback of the scene. The crew had sent him a preview before airing it. He rubbed his forehead, muttering, "Lord, not again." He knew how it looked, how it always looked, but he also knew how fast rumors spread in Atlanta. Within minutes, bloggers were already speculating that Kirk had been seeing Karlie behind Rasheeda's back. Old photos resurfaced. Old flings revisited. Every move he'd ever made was being dissected again. Rasheeda, meanwhile, refused to let it slide. She contacted the jeweler who made her ring, asking for proof of her design records. "Pull up the sketch, the invoice, the serial number, everything," she demanded. The jeweler confirmed it. Only one ring had ever been made with that exact engraving. "The inner band says Forever K&R, he said over the phone. Rasheeda's heart sank. She had the proof, but now she had a bigger question. How did Karlie get it? That night, a leaked clip hit social media behind the scenes, footage from that same restaurant argument. In the background, someone could be heard whispering, "Don't mention who gave it to you." Fans immediately jumped to conclusions. Some said Karlie was protecting a man. Others said it was all staged. But one comment stood out under the clip. If she didn't steal it, then someone close to Rasheeda did. By the next day, the story had evolved into something bigger. Jasmine Washington, once tied to Kirk's old scandals, posted a cryptic message on her story. "Some people never learn. Keep your rings locked up, ladies." The timing was too perfect to ignore. Bloggers connected the dots, suggesting Jasmine knew more than she was saying. Production decided to capitalize. They arranged a group dinner for the cast, supposedly to clear the air, but everyone knew what it really was, a setup for fireworks. Karlie arrived fashionably late again, this time without the ring. Rasheeda noticed immediately. "Where's the jewelry you were so proud of?" she asked sharply. Karlie smirked. "Oh, don't worry, it's somewhere safe, maybe where it belongs." Spice leaned in, trying to mediate. "Ladies, come on, this getting too deep. We all family here." But the word family only made Rasheeda laugh bitterly. "Family doesn't steal from each other." Karlie rolled her eyes. "You sound pressed." Kirk tried to speak. "Yo, let's not do this right here." But his voice was drowned out by the rising argument. "You think you can disrespect me and get away with it?" Rasheeda snapped. "I built my name on loyalty, on respect, and you of all people decided to play me like this." Karlie clapped back. "Girl, you act like you're perfect. You've done worse to people and called it business." The table went silent. Every camera zoomed in. Fans watching the leaked preview later would say it was the most intense moment in years. As the night ended, both women left in opposite directions, refusing to speak. The cast was shaken. Even Spice whispered to her confessional cam, "Something about this don't add up. It's deeper than a ring." And she was right. What none of them knew yet was that there was someone else involved, someone who had seen everything from the start. And that person was about to expose the truth in a way no one expected. The morning after the dinner, Atlanta woke up buzzing. Every gossip page, every fan forum, every live space was dissecting the confrontation between Karlie Redd and Rasheeda. Hashtags like #Ringgate and #KarlievsRasheeda started trending before noon. The clip of Rasheeda standing up and pointing at Karlie, her voice trembling but fierce, had already hit 1 million views. "You don't play with me. Not like that," she had said, and the internet replayed that line over and over. Rasheeda hadn't slept all night. She sat in her kitchen with her laptop open, reading comments she shouldn't have been reading. Rasheeda, always playing victim, one said. Another wrote, nah, Karlie wrong for that. That ring looks identical. Kirk tried to calm her down. Babe, don't even look at that stuff. You know how they twist everything. She looked up at him slowly. They're not twisting it, Kirk. They're reacting to what they see. And what they see is you in the middle of this mess again. Kirk sighed, rubbing his temples. I told you, I don't know how she got that ring. Rasheeda's eyes narrowed. Then maybe you should find out. Across town, Karlie was doing her own damage control, or what she called it. She went live on Instagram, sipping her smoothie like nothing was wrong. Good morning, loves, she said, flashing that same hand but without the ring this time. The comments flew in instantly. Where's the ring, sis? So you admit it was hers? Girl, you shady. Karlie laughed lightly. Y'all really pressed about a piece of jewelry. Relax. People love to assume. She ended the live within minutes, leaving more confusion than clarity. Later that afternoon, Spice showed up at Karlie's house unannounced. Cameras weren't even rolling. We need to talk, Spice said, stepping inside. Girl, you got the whole city talking like you a thief. Karlie closed the door and rolled her eyes. Let them talk. Half of them been waiting for me to slip. Spice shook her head. Nah, this one different. Rasheeda crying. Kirk mad. VH1 calling me like I'm supposed to fix it. What's going on? Karlie hesitated, then whispered. I can't tell you everything, but I didn't steal that ring. Spice crossed her arms. Then how you get it? Silence filled the room. Karlie finally said, it was given to me, by someone you wouldn't expect. Meanwhile, Rasheeda met up with Erica Minna at her boutique. Erica had been following everything online and came ready to stir things up. Girl, I told you Karlie's messy energy would catch up to her, Erica said, tossing her hair. Rasheeda smirked faintly. Yeah, but this time she messed with the wrong one. Erica leaned closer. So what's the plan? You just gonna let her walk around acting like she innocent? Rasheeda shook her head. No, I'm going to let the truth come out the right way. Erica grinned. Or we could make it come out faster. That night, a new piece of footage leaked online, unleashed camera angles from the boutique shoot where Rasheeda's ring first went missing. In the background, someone could be seen picking up a small velvet box from the counter. The clip wasn't clear, but the internet decided it was enough. Comments flooded in. That's Karlie's nails. Look at her bracelet. Caught in 4K. By morning, blogs were calling it the smoking gun. When producers called Karlie to tell her about the leak, she laughed nervously. That's edited, she insisted. Y'all playing with my image again? But her voice cracked at the end of the sentence. Even she could tell things were spiraling. She called Rasheeda that afternoon, but Rasheeda didn't answer. Instead, she posted another message on her story. Silence speaks louder than lies. The next group shoot was chaos before it even started. Mendices and Yandi, who were filming a crossover appearance, walked into the set and immediately felt the tension. What's happening now? Yandi whispered. Spice sighed. The ring thing's still going on. It's about to blow. Cameras started rolling. Karlie entered with a forced smile, sunglasses on, pretending not to care. Rasheeda arrived minutes later, her posture straight, her energy cold. The air thickened the moment their eyes met. So we just not gonna talk about it? Spice said, trying to break the silence. Karlie chuckled. Talk about what? The rumors y'all making up. Rasheeda leaned forward. Girl, stop. You've been lying since this started. Karlie shot back. Lying? I got nothing to lie about. Rasheeda's tone sharpened. You do when you're hiding who gave you that ring. Karlie's expression changed slightly. Oh, so now you think somebody gave it to me? Rasheeda replied. I don't think I know. The room went dead quiet. Producers could barely keep the cameras steady. Karlie crossed her arms. You really think your man gave me that ring? Rasheeda didn't blink. I don't think. I'm asking. Kirk stood at the back, trying to speak but the words wouldn't come out. Karlie turned toward him. You gonna tell her, or should I? Everyone froze. Kirk's face went pale. Tell her what? He managed to say. Karlie smiled faintly. About that night after the reunion rap party. Remember? Gasps filled the room. Rasheeda stood up so fast, her chair scraped the floor. You're disgusting, she said through clenched teeth. Kirk tried to calm her. She lying? Baby, you know she lying. But Karlie didn't back down. Then why'd you call me that night? Kirk. Why'd you say you needed to talk about business? She air-quoted the words mockingly. Kirk's jaw tightened. Stop playing with me. Karlie leaned in. I'm not playing. I still got the messages if you want me to show them. Producers tried to step in, but the energy was too heavy. Rasheeda's voice shook as she said, show them then, since you want to embarrass yourself. Karlie pulled out her phone, opened her gallery, and scrolled. Kirk took a step forward, saying, "Don't do that." She smirked. Too late. She turned her screen toward the table. Gasps broke out. Rasheeda stared, her face hardening. "You really went behind my back with her again," she whispered. Kirk shook his head. "That's old." That was before, but Rasheeda interrupted. "Don't. Just don't." She stood up and walked out, cameras following as she pushed open the door. Back inside, the cast was silent. Spice looked at Karlie and said, "You realize what you just did, right? This ain't no storyline anymore." Karlie looked away, suddenly unsure. She needed to know. Yandi muttered under her breath, "Nah, you wanted attention." Karlie glared at her. "Mind your business, Yandi." But even as she said it, her hands trembled. That night, social media exploded again. Screenshots of the supposed messages surfaced online. No one knew if they were real, but it didn't matter. The narrative had already taken shape. Kirk was the villain again, Rasheeda the betrayed wife, Karlie the chaos queen, and yet, buried in the comments sections, one user posted something that changed everything. A photo of a pawn shop receipt dated the week. Rasheeda's ring disappeared with a name on it that no one expected to see. It wasn't Karlie's, it wasn't Kirk's, it was someone even closer. The next morning, Rasheeda woke up to hundreds of notifications. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Every blog, every gossip site, every podcast in Atlanta had picked up the newest twist: the pawn shop receipt. At first, she didn't believe it. She thought it was another fan theory until she saw the name printed clearly at the bottom. Shannon Walters. Her jaw tightened. Shannon wasn't some stranger, she was her longtime assistant. The same one who had helped her close the boutique the night the ring went missing. Rasheeda felt her stomach twist. She'd trusted Shannon for years, brought her into her home, introduced her to her circle, and now it looked like the betrayal had started from right under her nose. She dialed her number immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. "You better call me back," Rasheeda said in a low voice, trying to keep calm. "I'm not gonna ask twice." Across town, Karlie was scrolling through the same news. She laughed bitterly. "So it wasn't even me," she said out loud. But instead of relief, she felt a sting of humiliation. She had been dragged for days, called a thief, a liar, everything under the sun, and now suddenly everyone realized she might have been played too. Spice called her within minutes. "Girl, I told you something was off. I knew you wouldn't steal nothing." Karlie sighed. "Don't celebrate yet. I still don't know how the ring ended up with me." Spice paused. "Wait, what you mean?" Karlie hesitated. "Because I didn't buy it. Someone gave it to me. And now I'm wondering if Shannon was the one who did." The producers saw an showing behind-the-scenes reactions. Producers admitted off-camera that they hadn't known Erica was involved. One even said, "She contacted us about a storyline but never mentioned this." The footage of her phone call leaked later, proof that she'd been pitching her return. In the clip, she said, "I got something that'll break the internet," and she was right. By the end of that week, the ring had become more than a piece of jewelry, it was a symbol. Fans started calling it the curse of the diamond. Rasheeda eventually got it back, delivered through legal channels, polished and flawless as ever, but she didn't wear it again. Instead, she put it in a box and locked it away. "Some things just carry bad energy," she said during her confessional. The final moments of the episode showed Rasheeda standing in front of a mirror, taking off her mic. "People think reality TV is fake," she said quietly, "but the pain, that's real. And the people who smile while breaking you, they're the most real of all." As the camera pulled back, Karlie entered the frame, resting a hand on her shoulder. "We good?" she asked. Rasheeda nodded. "Yeah, we good. But the city ain't never gonna forget this one." Outside, the lights of Atlanta glimmered like the diamonds that started it all, beautiful, sharp, and dangerous. The episode aired on Sunday night, and by Monday morning, Atlanta was on fire again. Every blog, talk show, and reaction channel was replaying Dion's confession, breaking it down frame by frame like it was evidence in a trial. Even people who didn't watch Love and Hip Hop suddenly had opinions. Twitter was a battlefield. "Erica really, the puppet master of Atlanta," one tweet said. Another read, "Rasheeda and Karlie just learned reality TV got no friends." VH1's ratings skyrocketed overnight. Insiders leaked that it was the most watched episode in 3 seasons. Fans demanded a reunion special immediately. Hashtags like #DiamondGate and #Erica set them up started trending across every platform. Podcasts were dissecting the timeline. YouTube channels were uploading hidden clues you missed, and fans were convinced more people had been involved. Rasheeda watched it all quietly from home. She sat on her couch, wrapped in a blanket, scrolling through the chaos. Kirk entered the room, holding his phone. "They saying Erica planning to go live again tonight." Rasheeda sighed. Of course she is. She can't stand not being the center of attention. Kirk looked at her carefully. You gonna respond? She shook her head. No, I've said what I had to say. Let her keep digging her hole. But the silence didn't last. An hour later, Karlie called, her voice shaking. You've seen her live? Rasheeda frowned. Nah, why? Karlie took a deep breath. She said she's got proof that you and Kirk knew about the setup before filming. Rasheeda laughed bitterly. Now she's just making things up. Karlie whispered. She played another recording. But it's chopped up sounds like your voice. Rasheeda stood up, heart pounding. Send me the clip. The clip spread fast. Erica's voice, narrating over a distorted audio. Y'all keep acting like victims, she said. But I got recordings proving Rasheeda knew exactly what was coming. She told producers, and they let it happen for views. The crowd on her live went wild. Thousands of comments poured in. Some believed her, some called her delusional. But for Rasheeda, it was one accusation too many. By evening, her publicist called. You need to address this before it gets legs, he said. Don't let her rewrite the story. Rasheeda agreed, but she refused to make a statement online. Instead, she called VH1 directly and demanded a reunion taping. I want her to say it to my face, she said firmly. 2 days later, the reunion was set. It wasn't just the main cast. Everyone who had ever been tied to the ring scandal was invited. The stage looked like a courtroom, sleek lights, heavy chairs, and a live audience ready for war. Host Nina Parker introduced the show with a dramatic voiceover. What started as a missing ring became a storm of lies, betrayal, and revenge. Tonight, it all comes to light. The cast took their seats, Rasheeda and Kirk on one side, Karlie and Spice on another, Erica alone in the center. She walked out wearing a red dress, smirking like she'd already won. The audience booed immediately. Y'all booing now, she said, but you'll thank me when you know the truth. Nina started gently. Erica, you said you have proof Rasheeda and Kirk were aware of the setup. Can you explain? Erica leaned forward. Simple. Dion didn't act alone. He was paid through someone connected to their team. Kirk rolled his eyes. Girl, you reaching. Erica shot back. Oh really? Because I got the cash receipt from that same pawn shop signed by someone with your initials. The crowd gasped. Kirk stood up. That's fake. Rasheeda snatched the paper from Erica's hand and studied it. This ain't even his signature. Stop playing victim when you the villain. Erica smiled coldly. If I'm lying, sue me. Rasheeda's voice rose. Maybe I will. Nina raised her hand. Ladies, let's stay calm. But calm wasn't in the cards. Spice jumped in. Erica, you messy. You doing all this for relevance? Erica glared. At least I'm real about mine. Karlie snapped. Real. You faked a whole scandal and dragged us into it. The tension cracked into shouting. Security stepped forward, but no one moved yet. Suddenly, Rasheeda pulled out her phone. Since we showing proof, let's show yours. She opened a voice memo, pressed play, and Erica's voice filled the room again, clear this time. Not edited. I'll make sure that ring ruins them both, the recording said. The crowd erupted. Erica froze. That's not me, she shouted. But the damage was done. Even Nina couldn't contain the reaction. Rasheeda leaned closer. Calm now. You wanted to play games. Congratulations. You played yourself. Erica stood, furious. You think you won? This city don't love you like you think it does. Rasheeda smirked. Maybe not, but at least they don't fear me like they fear you. Security finally stepped in when Erica tried to snatch the phone. The set dissolved into chaos, cameras shaking, cast yelling, producers shouting for order. Backstage footage later showed Karlie crying, saying, I can't do this no more. It's too toxic. Spice comforted her, whispering, we survived worse. We'll survive this too. When the reunion aired, fans called it the most explosive episode in love and hip-hop history. Every clip went viral. Memes, remixes, and analysis videos flooded social media. People argued about who was telling the truth, who was lying, and who had orchestrated what. A week later, Erica disappeared from social media entirely. Her Instagram wiped clean, her Twitter locked. Insiders claimed VH1 suspended her indefinitely pending investigation. Dion allegedly faced charges for fraud and identity theft. As for Rasheeda and Karlie, they shocked everyone when they appeared together in a joint live stream. The two women sat side by side, calm and composed. We went through hell, Rasheeda said, but sometimes, fire purifies. Karlie nodded. We done fighting. We building something bigger now. They announced a new venture, a jewelry line called Real Diamonds Atlanta, inspired by the ordeal. Because the real ones don't get lost, Karlie added. The comments flooded with support. Fans called it the best comeback ever. Within hours, the brand's Instagram hit 500,000 followers. Bloggers praised the move, saying it turned scandal into strategy. But as the live ended, a faint sense of unease lingered. In the final seconds of the broadcast, Karlie's phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at the screen, her smile fading slightly. Rasheeda noticed. "Who's that?" Karlie hesitated, then flipped the phone over. "Unknown number," she said quickly. The audience didn't see the message that appeared right before the feed cut off. "You thought it was over." The ring wasn't the only thing missing. Later that night, the energy in Atlanta was eerie. After the livestream, both Karlie and Rasheeda went silent online. No follow-up posts, no comments, no cryptic stories. Fans noticed immediately. "Something feels off," one user wrote on Twitter. "Why did Karlie look nervous at the end?" Another replied, "Because the drama ain't over. It never is." At 2:47 a.m., Karlie's story flashed for just 5 minutes before it disappeared. An image of her security camera feed showing a black SUV parked outside her gate. No caption, no sound. People screenshotted it and shared it everywhere. The theories started instantly. Is that Dion's car? Is someone trying to scare her? What if Erica's back? By morning, the blogs were already on it. "Trouble returns to Atlanta," one headline read. After reconciliation, mysterious messages threaten Karlie and Rasheeda again. Paparazzi waited outside both of their homes, hoping for a glimpse or a statement. None came. Inside her house, Rasheeda sat at her kitchen island, sipping coffee, trying to calm her thoughts. Her phone buzzed. Karlie calling. "Did you post that story last night?" Rasheeda asked before she could even say hello. Karlie's voice was shaky. "Yeah, I did. But it was gone when I checked. Someone deleted it. I think my account's been hacked again." Rasheeda frowned. "You sure it's a hack? Or is somebody sending a message?" Before Karlie could respond, she got another notification, a text from the same unknown number. She read it. Opportunity, and immediately arranged a sit-down between Rasheeda, Karlie, and Shannon. It was scheduled for the next day at the VH1 studio. Everyone was told to keep things civil, but no one expected peace. By the time the cameras started rolling, Rasheeda was pacing the floor, Karlie sitting with her arms folded, and Shannon looking like she wanted to disappear. Rasheeda broke the silence first. "So, explain to me how my ring ended up in a pawn shop with your name on the receipt." Shannon looked down, her voice trembling. "It's not what it looks like." Rasheeda laughed dryly. "Girl, it looks like betrayal. It looks like I've been paying you to rob me." Shannon shook her head. "I didn't steal it, I swear. I found it after the shoot, in one of the drawers. I tried to tell you, but you were out of town. I thought maybe Kirk had taken it for something." Karlie jumped in. "So you pawned it instead? Make that make sense." Shannon looked from Karlie to Rasheeda, tears forming. "A man came by the boutique that week. He said he was from Kirk's label, that Kirk wanted the ring appraised. He had paperwork. He knew your name, your brand, everything. I thought it was legit. He gave me cash to handle it quietly." Rasheeda's face went blank. "You mean to tell me you gave my ring to a stranger?" Shannon nodded weakly. "I thought it was safe." Kirk, who had been waiting outside the studio, was called in. As soon as he walked through the door, Rasheeda turned on him. "You got people out here pretending to work for you now?" He frowned, confused. "What people?" She showed him the receipt. "This ring went to a pawn shop under Shannon's name. Some man said he worked for your label." Kirk took the paper, reading slowly. "That's not one of my guys. I ain't sent nobody." Rasheeda shook her head. "Then who did?" Karlie stood up suddenly. "Hold up. The man who gave me the ring, he said he got it from a jewelry dealer downtown. Said it was a resale. What if it's the same person?" Kirk looked up. "Describe him." Karlie thought for a moment. Mid-40s, beard, heavy accent, drove a black SUV. Kirk's expression darkened. "That sound like Dion." Rasheeda frowned. "Who's Dion?" Kirk hesitated. "He used to work for me years ago. Got fired for stealing equipment." The room fell silent. Producers exchanged looks. They could already sense this was bigger than just missing jewelry. Rasheeda crossed her arms. "So you're telling me your old employee stole from me, and now my name is being dragged all over the internet?" Kirk said quietly. "I didn't know he was still around." Rasheeda stepped closer. "Well, he's around now, and he got my ring." By the next scene, the cameras followed Rasheeda and Kirk driving to the pawn shop to confront the owner. They arrived with security and 2 producers trailing behind. The owner, nervous under the lights, confirmed everything. "Yeah, that ring came in through a man named Dion. He said it belonged to his client." He pulled out the transaction record, matching Dion's signature. "But I don't have the ring anymore," he added quickly. "It was picked up by her." He pointed toward a printed photo attached to the paperwork. The face in the image made Rasheeda's eyes widen. It was Karlie. She turned slowly toward Karlie, who was standing behind her. You picked it up? Karlie looked stunned. I didn't know it was yours. The dealer said it was available for private resale. I paid for it. Rasheeda laughed bitterly. So technically, you bought my stolen ring. Karlie shouted. How was I supposed to know it was stolen? Kirk muttered under his breath. This is crazy. The footage of that confrontation leaked the same night. The fans went insane. Every platform lit up with memes, theories, and hashtags. Some said Karlie was innocent. Others accused her of pretending to be fooled. One popular blogger said, if this was a setup, VH1 just made history. Later that night, Rasheeda sat in her bedroom alone, scrolling through old pictures of her and Karlie from happier time shopping trips, birthdays, laughing on set. We used to be like sisters, she whispered to herself. Kirk came in quietly. You okay? She shook her head. No, because this isn't just about a ring anymore. It's about trust. And I don't know who's playing who. Meanwhile, Karlie sat in her own house, replaying everything in her head. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone had orchestrated the entire mess. She opened her messages and stared at one chat in particular, a number, saved only as unknown. The last message read, Don't worry. Soon, everyone will know the truth. Her hand trembled as she read it again. Whoever that was had been feeding her details since the start. As the camera faded to black, a producer's voice was heard faintly off-screen. Next week on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, the truth behind the ring finally comes out. And it's someone no one expected. The audience had no idea that the next reveal would shake the entire cast to its core. 2 days later, Atlanta was holding its breath. The teasers had dropped. The blogs had gone wild, and everyone was waiting for what VH1 called the truth episode. The promo alone had people losing their minds. Flashes of Rasheeda slamming a door, Karlie crying backstage, Kirk shouting, and Spice yelling, Y'all ain't ready for this. The network knew exactly what it was doing. This wasn't just an episode, it was a cultural moment. When filming began, the atmosphere was heavier than ever. The producers gathered the cast at a rented mansion outside the city for what was supposed to be a resolution retreat. Cameras followed them through marble halls and velvet couches, trying to catch every glance, every sigh, every unspoken tension. Rasheeda arrived first, dressed sharp, eyes cold. Kirk trailed behind, looking worn out but trying to keep his composure. Karlie came next, sunglasses hiding her swollen eyes. No one said a word at first. Finally, Spice broke the silence. All right, let's just get to it, because I can't keep living in this soap opera. Who set this up? She looked from Rasheeda to Karlie to Kirk. Somebody planned this mess. Rasheeda folded her arms. You think I'd plan something that made me look stupid? Karlie laughed dryly. Please, you live for attention. Rasheeda shot back. If I wanted attention, I wouldn't need your name attached to mine. The argument started again, sharp words, raised voices, but suddenly, the door opened. And in walked a man, wearing a leather jacket and a smug grin. It was Cameras zoomed in immediately. Kirk's face went blank. What the hell are you doing here? He said. Dion smiled faintly. You should be thanking me. I just made your show relevant again. Rasheeda stepped forward. You stole from me. You had my assistant thinking you were legit. Dion shrugged. I didn't steal. I repurposed, and I wasn't alone. The room went still. Karlie frowned. What do you mean, not alone? Dion turned his gaze toward the cameras, then back to Rasheeda. This whole thing was orchestrated, from the missing ring to the pawn receipt to the accidental leaks online. Someone from inside the cast paid me to make it happen. Spice gasped. You lying? But Dion smirked. Am I? He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. I kept everything. The producers tried to stop him, but the man played an audio recording. The sound was muffled at first, then clear. A female voice said, Make sure she finds out online. I want her to hurt like I did. The accent was unmistakable. It wasn't Karlie's. It wasn't Rasheeda's. It was Erica Minna's. Everyone froze. Rasheeda's mouth fell open. Erica, she's not even part of this anymore. Karlie blinked, speechless. Why would she do that? Dion laughed. Because she wanted revenge. She told me she'd make sure you two tore each other apart on camera. All I had to do was move the ring, leak a few clips, and let y'all's egos do the rest. Spice buried her face in her hands. Lord have mercy. Kirk muttered. So all this time, we've been fighting over a setup. Dion nodded. Pretty much. Rasheeda shook her head, her voice trembling. You let me destroy my friendship for nothing. Dion replied coldly. For ratings. And y'all gave it to them. The producers tried to take control, telling Dion to leave, but he refused until security stepped in. Karlie stood still, staring at the floor. She played me too, she whispered. She made me look like the villain. Rasheeda took a deep breath, fighting back tears. We both were her pawns. Later that evening, off-camera, Rasheeda and Karlie sat by the fire pit outside the mansion. No makeup, no microphones, just raw silence. For the first time in weeks, neither of them was performing. Rasheeda spoke first. I should have called you before going public. I let anger talk. Karlie nodded slowly. And I should have taken that ring off the second I saw the posts. I knew it looked bad. Both women sat quietly for a moment before Rasheeda added softly, she really had us fighting ghosts. As the night deepened, the conversation grew more honest. They talked about fame, jealousy, and how easy it was for old wounds to reopen under the camera's glare. They loved to see us break, Rasheeda said, because strong women make the best headlines when they fall. Karlie smiled faintly. Then maybe next season, we make them watch us rise. But even as they made peace, the damage was already done. Clips of Dion's confession were all over social media. Erica denied everything in a fiery Instagram live, calling the audio fake and edited. Fans didn't know who to believe. Some sided with Erica, others with Rasheeda and Karlie. Memes flooded. One showed all three women with the caption, Diamonds, Lies, and Betrayal, the real love and hip-hop trilogy. The following week, VH1 released a special segment titled The Fallout, showing behind-the-scenes reactions. Producers admitted off-camera that they hadn't known Erica was involved. One even said, she contacted us about a storyline but never mentioned this. The footage of her phone call leaked later, proof that she'd been pitching her return. In the clip, she said, I got something that'll break the internet. And she was right. By the end of that week, the ring had become more than a piece of jewelry, it was a symbol. Fans started calling it the curse of the diamond. Rasheeda eventually got it back, delivered through legal channels, polished and flawless as ever. But she didn't wear it again. Instead, she put it in a box and locked it away. Some things just carry bad energy, she said during her confessional. The final moments of the episode showed Rasheeda standing in front of a mirror, taking off her mic. People think reality TV is fake, she said quietly. But the pain? That's real. And the people who smile while breaking you, they're the most real of all. As the camera pulled back, Karlie entered the frame, resting a hand on her shoulder. We good? She asked. Rasheeda nodded. Yeah, we good? But the city ain't never gonna forget this one. Outside, the lights of Atlanta glimmered like the diamonds that started it all, beautiful, sharp, and dangerous. The episode aired on Sunday night, and by Monday morning, Atlanta was on fire again. Every blog, talk show, and reaction channel was replaying Dion's confession, breaking it down frame by frame like it was evidence in a trial. Even people who didn't watch Love and Hip Hop suddenly had opinions. Twitter was a battlefield. Erica, really the puppet master of Atlanta, one tweet said. Another read, Rasheeda and Karlie just learned reality TV got no friends. VH1's ratings skyrocketed overnight. Insiders leaked that it was the most watched episode in 3 seasons. Fans demanded a reunion special immediately. Hashtags like #DiamondGate and #Erica set them up started trending across every platform. Podcasts were dissecting the timeline. YouTube channels were uploading hidden clues you missed, and fans were convinced more people had been involved. Rasheeda watched it all quietly from home. She sat on her couch, wrapped in a blanket, scrolling through the chaos. Kirk entered the room, holding his phone. They saying Erica planning to go live again tonight. Rasheeda sighed. Of course she is. She can't stand not being the center of attention. Kirk looked at her carefully. You gonna respond? She shook her head. No. I've said what I had to say. Let her keep digging her hole. But the silence didn't last. An hour later, Karlie called, her voice shaking. You seen her live? Rasheeda frowned. Nah. Why? Karlie took a deep breath. She said she's got proof that you and Kirk knew about the setup before filming. Rasheeda laughed bitterly. Now she's just making things up. Karlie whispered. She played another recording, but it's chopped up, sounds like your voice. Rasheeda stood up, heart pounding. Send me the clip. The clip spread Fosterica's voice, narrating over a distorted audio. Y'all keep acting like victims, she said. But I got recordings proving Rasheeda knew exactly what was coming. She told producers, and they let it happen for views. The crowd on her live went wild. Thousands of comments poured in. Some believed her. Some called her delusional. But for Rasheeda, it was one accusation too many. By evening, her publicist called. You need to address this before it gets legs, he said. Don't let her rewrite the story. Rasheeda agreed, but she refused to make a statement online. Instead, she called VH1 directly and demanded a reunion taping. I want her to say it to my face, she said firmly. 2 days later, the reunion was set. It wasn't just the main cast, everyone who had ever been tied to the ring scandal was invited. The stage looked like a courtroom, sleek lights, heavy chairs, and a live audience ready for war. Host Nina Parker introduced the show with a dramatic voiceover. What started as a missing ring became a storm of lies, betrayal, and revenge. Tonight, it all comes to light. The cast took their seats, Rasheeda and Kirk on one side, Karlie and Spice on another, Erica alone in the center. She walked out wearing a red dress, smirking like she'd already won. The audience booed immediately. "Y'all booing now," she said, "but you'll thank me when you know the truth." Nina started gently. "Erica, you said you have proof Rasheeda and Kirk were aware of the setup. Can you explain?" Erica leaned forward. "Simple. Dion didn't act alone. He was paid through someone connected to their team." Kirk rolled his eyes. "Girl, you reaching." Erica shot back. "Oh really? Because I got the cash receipt from that same pawn shop signed by someone with your initials." The crowd gasped. Kirk stood up. "That's fake." Rasheeda snatched the paper from Erica's hand and studied it. "This ain't even his signature." "Stop playing victim when you the villain." Erica smiled coldly. "If I'm lying, sue me." Rasheeda's voice rose. "Maybe I will." Nina raised her hand. "Ladies, let's stay calm." But calm wasn't in the cards. Spice jumped in. "Erica, you messy. You doing all this for relevance." Erica glared. "At least I'm real about mine." Karlie snapped. "Real? You faked a whole scandal and dragged us into it." The tension cracked into shouting. Security stepped forward, but no one moved yet. Suddenly, Rasheeda pulled out her phone. "Since we showing proof, let's show yours." She opened a voice memo, pressed play, and Erica's voice filled the room again, clear this time. Not edited. "I'll make sure that ring ruins them both," the recording said. The crowd erupted. Erica froze. "That's not me," she shouted, but the damage was done. Even Nina couldn't contain the reaction. Rasheeda leaned closer. "Calm now. You wanted to play games. Congratulations. You played yourself." Erica stood, furious. "You think you won? This city don't love you like you think it does." Rasheeda smirked. "Maybe not, but at least they don't fear me like they fear you." Security finally stepped in when Erica tried to snatch the phone. The set dissolved into chaos, cameras shaking, cast yelling, producers shouting for order. Backstage footage later showed Karlie crying, saying, "I can't do this no more. It's too toxic." Spice comforted her, whispering, "We survived worse. We'll survive this too." When the reunion aired, fans called it the most explosive episode in love and hip-hop history. Every clip went viral. Memes, remixes, and analysis videos flooded social media. People argued about who was telling the truth, who was lying, and who had orchestrated what. A week later, Erica disappeared from social media entirely. Her Instagram wiped clean, her Twitter locked. Insiders claimed VH1 suspended her indefinitely pending investigation. Dion allegedly faced charges for fraud and identity theft. As for Rasheeda and Karlie, they shocked everyone when they appeared together in a joint live stream. The two women sat side by side, calm and composed. "We went through hell," Rasheeda said, "but sometimes, fire purifies." Karlie nodded. "We done fighting. We building something bigger now." They announced a new venture, a jewelry line called Real Diamonds Atlanta, inspired by the ordeal. "Because the real ones don't get lost," Karlie added. The comments flooded with support. Fans called it the best comeback ever. Within hours, the brand's Instagram hit 500,000 followers. Bloggers praised the move, saying it turned scandal into strategy. But as the live ended, a faint sense of unease lingered. In the final seconds of the broadcast, Karlie's phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at the screen, her smile fading slightly. Rasheeda noticed. "Who's that?" Karlie hesitated, then flipped the phone over. "Unknown number," she said quickly. The audience didn't see the message that appeared right before the feed cut off. "You thought it was over." The ring wasn't the only thing missing. Later that night, the energy in Atlanta was eerie. After the live stream, both Karlie and Rasheeda went silent online. No follow-up posts, no comments, no cryptic stories. Fans noticed immediately. "Something feels off," one user wrote on Twitter. "Why did Karlie look nervous at the end?" Another replied, "Because the drama ain't over. It never is." At 2:47 a.m., Karlie's story flashed for just 5 minutes before it disappeared. An image of her security camera feed showing a black SUV parked outside her gate. No caption, no sound. People screenshotted it and shared it everywhere. The theories started instantly. Is that Dion's car? Is someone trying to scare her? What if Erica's back? By morning, the blogs were already on it. Trouble returns to Atlanta. One headline read, "After reconciliation, mysterious messages threaten Karlie and Rasheeda again. Paparazzi waited outside both of their homes, hoping for a glimpse or a statement. None came. Inside her house, Rasheeda sat at her kitchen island, sipping coffee, trying to calm her thoughts. Her phone buzzed. Karlie calling. "Did you post that story last night?" Rasheeda asked before she could even say hello. Karlie's voice was shaky. "Yeah, I did, but it was gone when I checked. Someone deleted it. I think my account's been hacked again." Rasheeda frowned. "You sure it's a hack? Or is somebody sending a message?" Before Karlie could respond, she got another notification, a text from the same unknown number. She read it aloud, her voice trembling. "Check your backyard." Rasheeda froze. "Girl, don't go out there." But Karlie was already moving. She turned on her porch light, phone camera, recording as she stepped outside. The video later leaked to the blogs, grainy, shaky, but unmistakable. The camera panned across her backyard until another message followed. "I told you it wasn't just a ring. It was a promise." The next morning, a large black envelope was left on the doorstep of Rasheeda's boutique. Number, name, no return address. Inside was a printed photograph of her and Karlie sitting together at the jewelry line launch. Both smiling, and right across the image, written in red marker, "Season 2 begins now." Within hours, VH1's social media accounts started posting cryptic teasers, black backgrounds, diamond emojis. The words, "The story continues." Fans thought it was marketing, but behind the scenes, the network had no idea who was posting them. The logins had been hijacked. That night, during a scheduled brand photo shoot, the lights in the studio flickered. Then the monitors came alive, playing clips from unseen footage: Rasheeda arguing with Kirk, Karlie crying in her car, Spice yelling backstage. The clips were edited like a trailer, ending with one chilling line: "Reality never stops filming." The screen went dark, and the ring's reflection appeared briefly before vanishing. Karlie whispered, "It's like the show's haunting us." Rasheeda turned to her, her voice low but steady. "No, somebody's making sure we never forget who made us stars." She looked into the dark camera lens still sitting in the corner of the studio. "And whoever you are, if you think we're scared, you're about to see what happens when Atlanta fights back." But even as she said it, her phone buzzed again. A new message flashed across the screen. "Timestamped 1 minute ago. You already lost." The following morning broke in a heavy silence, the kind that sits over a city before something breaks. Atlanta's skyline looked calm, but inside the Frost household, the air was tense. Rasheeda sat by the window with her phone in her lap, the same unread message lighting the screen. "You already lost." She hadn't slept. Kirk was pacing across the room, mumbling half to himself, half to her. "Maybe it's a troll. Babe, maybe they just hacking for clout." Rasheeda looked up slowly. "A troll doesn't have footage from inside my boutique, Kirk." She picked up the black envelope again, tapping the photo with her nail. "This is somebody close. Somebody who knows what we're doing before we do it." Kirk didn't answer. He just kept pacing, eyes flicking toward the window like he expected to see someone standing outside. Over in Midtown, Karlie wasn't doing much better. Her phone hadn't stopped buzzing since sunrise. Texts from unknown numbers, voicemails filled with static, and one new video file sent at 5 a.m. She pressed play hesitantly. Was a recording of her sitting in her makeup chair, filmed from the dressing room mirror. Only she'd been alone when that footage was taken. The clip ended with a whisper she couldn't make out, just a faint, drawn-out watch. By noon, both women met again at Spice's studio. Spice had called them early, saying, "Y'all need to come right now." When they arrived, she had a laptop open, the screen frozen on an email she'd received overnight. It had no sender name, no subject line, just a video file labeled "Truth Cut 2." They sat together and pressed play. The footage began with the same old intro music from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. But the scenes weren't from any aired episode. Instead, it showed private footage, raw, unedited. Some from years back, some from the past week. Moments they didn't even know had been filmed. First, a clip of Rasheeda arguing with Kirk in their kitchen, clearly off hours, no microphones. Then Karlie, crying on her couch, talking on the phone to her daughter. Then Spice, backstage, saying into her phone, "They're doing something weird this season. I can feel it." Rasheeda's hands trembled. "Where did they get this?" Karlie whispered, "This was never released." The video kept going, transitioning to new footage, security camera angles from the boutique, drone shots over their houses, close-ups of the mysterious ring glinting under studio lights. A distorted voice narrated over it all. "You told your stories for fame. Now your story tells itself." Spice slammed the laptop shut, breathing hard. "Nah, this ain't no fan edit. Whoever this is, they got access to everything. Rasheeda stood, shaking her head. No, this is someone inside VH1. Somebody with clearance. Maybe even a producer. As if on cue, her phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a message, it was a live feed. A black screen, then static. Then suddenly, an image of their studio itself, filmed from above, like a surveillance drone. A voice came through the speakers. Look up. They turned toward the ceiling. A faint red light blinked behind the vent. Karlie grabbed a chair, climbed up, and unscrewed the cover. A tiny black camera dropped out, still recording. The red light stayed on for a moment before flickering off. Spice backed away. Somebody's tracking every move we make, Rasheeda said quietly, and broadcasting it. That night, the city felt wired. Rumors were spreading that VH1's servers had been breached. Old episodes of Love and Hip Hop began glitching on streaming platforms, replaced with distorted clips labeled Uncut Truth. One showed Rasheeda and Karlie's confrontation over the ring but extended, with new dialogue that none of them remembered saying. In the clip, a voice off camera whispered, "Say it again, but slower." And they did like they were following orders. Rasheeda stared at the screen, horrified. That's not editing. That's control. The next day, a producer named Malcolm, someone who'd worked on the show for years, requested a private meeting. "We need to talk," he said over the phone. Alone. They met at a quiet diner off Edgewood. He looked worn out, glancing around before speaking. "It's not just you two. Other franchises been getting hit too. Miami, New York, even Hollywood. Files missing, footage replaced. VH1's got no idea who's doing it. But whoever it is, they've been in our systems for months." Rasheeda asked, "So this is a hacker thing?" Malcolm shook his head slowly. "Not just hackers. Whoever's behind it has access to raw files. Scenes that were never even uploaded." Karlie leaned in. "You mean, stuff from the cameras before editing?" He nodded. "Exactly. And there's more. They've been uploading new material that no one shot, angles that shouldn't exist, voices that were never recorded." Rasheeda frowned. "What do you mean, never recorded?" Malcolm looked up at her, tired eyes full of something between fear and disbelief. "I mean voices of people who weren't there. Whole conversations that never happened." That evening, as the sun set over Atlanta, a new trailer dropped on an anonymous YouTube channel called Reality Resurrected. The video was titled The Final Cut. Within minutes, it went viral. The trailer opened with Karlie's voice. "We thought we could control the story." Then Rasheeda's, "But the story controlled us." Flashes of every dramatic scene from the scandal followed. Strings, tears, arguments cut with eerie clips of dark hallways, surveillance monitors, and static screens showing the words "Who owns reality?" The video ended with one last frame, a dimly lit studio, 3 chairs in the center, and a single diamond ring spinning slowly on the table. A shadowed figure walked into frame, picked it up, and faced the camera. Though the face was blurred, the silhouette looked familiar. It was female, tall, poised. A soft voice whispered, "Season 3 written, directed, and owned by me." The video cut to black. Rasheeda sat in her car watching it, heart pounding. She replayed the last second over and over. Something in that voice, it wasn't random. It wasn't digital. It was real. And she knew exactly who it sounded like. Not Erica. Not Shannon. Not any producer. It was her own voice. Rasheeda couldn't shake it. She sat in the parked car staring at the last second of that trailer, replaying the silhouette, the tilt of the head, the soft cadence. The voice wasn't perfect, but it was close enough to make her skin prickle. She whispered to herself, "That's me. Or someone trying to be me." She dialed Karlie with trembling fingers. "Open YouTube. Search Reality Resurrected Final Cut and play the last 3 seconds." There was a pause, then Karlie's breath caught on the other end. "That voice. Oh my God, that's you." Rasheeda swallowed hard. "It ain't me." Karlie lowered her voice. "Then someone cloned you." They met an hour later at a quiet coffee shop that stayed open late for artists, and the city's rain had stopped, leaving everything slick and reflective. Inside, the air smelled like cinnamon and burnt sugar. No cameras, no PR team, just the two of them at a corner table. Karlie kept her hoodie up, sunglasses on even at night. "If they can take your voice, they can write any story," she said, voice shaking. "They already are." Rasheeda stared down at her phone. "So we flip it. We tell ours louder." The door chimed. Spice slipped in, glanced around, slid into their booth. "You see that trailer?" she whispered. "My phone been going crazy. I don't know what's real anymore." She pulled out a small stack of printed screenshots. "Look at this." It was a string of emails sent to anonymous addresses. Each message short: "Upload raw footage, replace sequence, publish midnight." The sender name had no profile photo. The signature line was blank. But the timestamps matched every leak of the last 2 weeks. Spice tapped the top page. This is connected to someone in post-production. The server codes are in the headers. Rasheeda frowned. How you get these? Spice gave a quick, humorless smile. Some people still owe me favors. She flipped to the last page. There's a recurring phrase in each note. Own the scene. It's like a brand motto. Karlie leaned closer. I saw that exact phrase on the USB with the final cut clip. Handwritten inside the case. Own the scene. Whoever this is, they want credit without a name. Spice chewed her lip. We need to stop them. But first, we need to see them. That night, they went back to the boutique together. Security met them at the door. The air felt charged again, like the building itself was waiting. Rasheeda walked straight to the big vanity mirror, where the last note had been hidden. You stuck a camera here? She said to the lead guard. He nodded. Cloud backup. No one touches this place without us knowing. They gathered near the office. Lights dimmed to keep the reflections from blowing out the angles. The guard pulled up the feed. Hours of nothing. Then a flicker. 2:13 a.m. A shadow in the hallway. A shape gliding past the frame. The figure didn't rush. It moved with purpose, like it belonged. When the intruder reached the office, the motion cam caught a clean profile. The hood slipped for a second. Not Erica. Not Shannon. Not a producer. Karlie leaned in so close, her nose almost touched the screen. No, that can't be. Spice whispered. Say it. Karlie exhaled. It's Cassidy. The room went still. Cassidy Martin, junior field producer. Quiet, polite, good at getting people water and microphones and secrets. Hired this season. Always in the background. Always in the room. Rasheeda replayed it again and again. The curve of the cheekbone, the quick squint, the little smile. That's her, she said. She's been standing beside us this whole time. By dawn they had a plan. They would set a trap that wasn't a trap. A scene that wasn't a scene. Something no producer could stage because it wasn't going to be on any call sheet. They chose a place that had never been used on the show. A closed roller rink on the south side that Spice's cousin managed. No cameras, no crew, no digital trail. They left their primary phones at home and used burners to coordinate. They would meet at 10 p.m., talk, wait, and see who tried to own the scene. At sunset, a final twist hit the blogs. A new upload appeared on the anonymous channel. A teaser titled, Confession. The thumbnail showed a blurred face and a single line of text. I'll tell you how I made them fight. Within 20 minutes, it had 400,000 views. Exactly at 9 p.m., the video went live. The blurred face moved, then split into two side-by-side screens, like a mirror arguing with itself. A distorted voice spoke. You love it when they bleed pretty. The left half asked questions. The right half answered. The right half said, I changed the call sheets. Moved props, rerouted footage, told Dion which doors to walk through and which cameras to feed. The left half purred. And why? The right half whispered. Because control is a better high than fame. Then the left half finally smiled and asked, Who are you? The right half looked at the lens and said, I am the editor of their souls. Then the face leaned forward until the pixels fell apart and the screen cut to black. She wants to be seen without being seen, Karlie muttered, watching on Spice's phone in the rink parking lot. Tonight we see her for real. They went inside. The rink smelled like wax and old music. The neon sign glowed faintly. The cousin killed the interior cameras. The only light came from the open snack bar and the pink cone lamps over the rental counter. They sat at a table under a dead disco ball. No security, no microphones, just 3 women and a clock ticking, toward 10. They waited. The quiet made their nerves stand on edge. Karlie's foot wouldn't stop shaking. Spice kept checking the dark windows. Rasheeda folded and unfolded a napkin into smaller and smaller squares. Then, at 10:41, the far door clicked. Shoes on old tile. Cassidy walked in. She didn't look like a villain. Oversized jacket, messy bun, a canvas bag slung across her shoulder. She glanced at the ceiling like she was checking for flies. Then at the corners where cameras would normally hide. Then at them. She gave a small smile that didn't reach her eyes. You finally stepped out of the light, she said. Good. This is where stories actually start. Karlie stood. Why? Cassidy shrugged. Because every season you all hand your hearts to strangers and ask them to turn it into gold. I thought I'd make something cleaner, sharper. I thought I'd show how it really works. Spice's jaw tightened. By terrorizing people. Cassidy tilted her head, almost curious. You call it terror. The audience calls it truth. I call it control. She set the canvas bag on the table and unzipped it. Inside were 3 ring boxes. One held a ring engraved K&R. The second, forgiveness is a lie. The third, empty just velvet. She slid them across. You were never supposed to wear them, she said. You were supposed to see them. Props for rituals. Rasheeda stared at the boxes. You stole from me. Cassidy shook her head softly. I curated you. Karlie stepped closer. And the voice. The trailer with Rasheeda's voice. Cassidy's smile sharpened. You gave me hours of your voice for free. I only borrowed what you were already selling. She tapped the empty box. This one stays empty. It's for whatever you lose next. Spice leaned in, voice low. You need help. Cassidy blinked, almost offended. I don't, I need credit. The sound of a truck in the parking lot made all three women glance toward the door. Cassidy didn't flinch. That's yours, she said to Rasheeda without looking away. You invited protection. Good, let them protect you from mirrors. She lifted her bag, then paused. I'm not your enemy. I'm your audience. I just stopped pretending I wasn't part of the show. You're done, Rasheeda said. We'll take this to VH1, to the police, to court. I don't care which, but this ends. Cassidy's eyes softened with a strange kind of pity. You still think there's a difference between court and camera? She checked the empty ceiling again. You picked a beautiful set tonight. Shame, it's the only place you felt safe enough to be honest. She started to turn away. Why, Erica? Karlie demanded. Why? Dion, why drag them into it? Cassidy looked back over her shoulder. Because the best stories need ghosts. The audience thinks it knows them. All I had to do was move puzzle pieces and let your history do the rest. She pointed faintly at the empty ring box. You'll keep that one. Security entered in a rush. Heavy boots on the floor. Flashlight slicing through the half-dark. Cassidy lifted her hands. Calm as a teacher. I didn't break in anywhere tonight, she said quietly. This is a conversation. The head guard frowned at the women. You want her detained? Rasheeda swallowed. Her hands had started to shake. No, not yet. She picked up the empty ring box. Follow her. Don't lose her. The guards nodded and moved. They watched Cassidy step back into the rain like she'd just finished a shift. The moment the door closed, the rink felt colder. Spice exhaled. She's not scared, she said. She's proud. Karlie pressed her palms to the table to steady herself. She's not working alone, she murmured. Someone fed her access. Those emails. Those server codes. Rasheeda opened the ring boxes again. A slow ritual, memorizing everything. The weight, the engraving, the cheap velvet. We get her, and we get whoever opened the door for her, she said. And then we tell it before she does. The next 24 hours turned into a chase without sirens. VH1 Legal called not. The network's head of post flew in and locked himself in a room with the security team, screaming about firewalls and rogue assets. The Reality Resurrected channel uploaded 2 new teasers, each more cryptic than the last. One of a diamond spinning while city lights went in and out. One of a hand holding a microphone over a grave of old DV tapes. The captions were taunts. This is not your season. The editor owns the episode. Own the scene. Cassidy's building turned out to be a quiet complex not far from the studio. Security kept watch from unmarked cars. At 3:11 a.m., she left again, hood up, backpack on, no rush in her step. She went not to the studio, not to a producer's condo, but to a storage warehouse by the highway. The guards followed at a distance. Lights buzzed inside. She used a code and rolled open the door. When the women arrived with the team a few minutes later, the smell of warm plastic and dust hit them. Rows of metal shelves, labeled bins, old lighting rigs, forgotten banners from long-cancelled scenes. And at the center, an island of machinery, towers, monitors, hard drives stacked like bricks, cables woven like braids. Screens showed timelines in motion, names of projects, names of people. A second setup glowed on the other side like a mirror. Redundant systems, backups of backups. She had built a shadow post house by herself, fed with stolen power and stolen stories. Cassidy stood in the middle, serene, as if welcoming guests to an exhibit. I called this place the Vault, she said. The show misplaces truth. I archive it. She pointed to one wall where stills had been printed and pinned in a grid. Rasheeda laughing and crying across a decade. Karlie in glam and raw. Spice onstage and backstage. You gave me so much, Cassidy whispered. I gave it form. You gave it poison. Spice snapped. You made threats. You stalked us. Cassidy looked genuinely puzzled. I made trailers. You felt threatened because they weren't selling your version. The head of security stepped forward. You're done, ma'am. Cassidy blushed at the word, almost girlish. No, she said softly. I'm premiering. She lifted a small remote and pressed a button. E-screens rearranged themselves into a single giant frame. a live view of the warehouse. Shot from some hidden angle above them, their bodies became part of the picture, the story swallowing them again. A title slithered up from the bottom. Season 3, The Vault. From outside, sirens finally wailed. Real ones now. Someone had called the actual police, the network, maybe, or a neighbor who saw too many cars. Cassidy didn't move. You can take the machines, she said, but the cut already lives in 100 places. She glanced at a blinking panel in the rack, small but steady. Mirrors make mirrors. Rasheeda stepped in front of her, forcing eye contact. Look at me, she said. Her voice surprised even herself. Firm, direct, not for a camera. I don't care what cut you think you own. I don't care how pretty your timelines look. I am not your content. Cassidy's jaw tightened, the first crack in her composure. You always were, she whispered. Since the day you signed the first release. Rasheeda shook her head slowly. I released myself. She took the remote from Cassidy's hand without force, like taking a child's toy. She pointed to the racks. Turn them off. Cassidy didn't move. The guard stepped closer. She finally nodded once, tapped the panel. Screens blinked, one by one, until the room hummed with nothing but the sound of the rain beyond the metal roof. The cops entered too at first, then more quietly surprised by the theater of it. Statements began. Paperwork, the stiffness of official time pulling them out of the nightmare logic of the last weeks. Cassidy didn't run. She looked around her vault like a curator at closing. As they walked her out, she glanced back at the grid of stills, then at the women. You'll miss me when your edits go back to being safe, she said. I did what you were too scared to do. Outside, the night smelled like damp asphalt. Red and blue lights pulsed softly against the warehouse. Karlie wrapped her arms around herself and looked at Rasheeda. It's over. Rasheeda stared at the remote in her hand, its plastic warm from Cassidy's palm. The vault is done, she said, but the cuts are out there. Spice stood between them, steady as a metronome. Then we flood the timeline with something stronger. By sunrise, the network had seized the equipment and issued a statement confirming a rogue contractor had been detained pending investigation. They promised to work with law enforcement, promised to audit their systems, promised to protect their talent. Fans split again. Some called it a cover-up. Some blamed the cast. Some celebrated the women for standing their ground. The anonymous channel went dark. Then, an hour later, a new video appeared, 30 seconds of black. Then a single line of white text. A good story never ends. It evolves. Below it, a signature flickered in and out like a nervous heartbeat. Own the scene. The jewelry line launched that afternoon was supposed to be cancelled. They held it anyway. The venue was bright and open, glass walls, a small stage, a tight guest list. No reality cameras, only a single independent crew hired by the women themselves. No wireless mics. Wired, no cloud. Local drives. They greeted buyers, hugged fans, kept speeches short. The display cases gleamed. The infamous rings were nowhere near the floor. A new centerpiece caught everyone's eye, a simple band set with a slender row of stones. Engraved inside with a word that felt both like a promise and a dare. Unwritten. When it was time for pictures, they stood shoulder to shoulder. Fans were crying. Some of the crew were too. Atlanta had seen them fight, break, reconcile, and then fight ghosts. Now it watched them refuse to die in someone else's edit. The lights flashed. The room felt solid. The air felt theirs again. Later, in the green room, the three sat on a sofa in silence for a long time. Finally, Karlie laughed, soft and real. You know the crazy part, she said. Somewhere, Cassidy's going to clip this and call it cliché. Spice rolled her eyes and smiled. Let her clip it. We'll post our own. Rasheeda nodded. We build our channel. We own our cuts. We put truth on our schedule. She picked up the empty ring box they had kept, turned it over in her hand, then slid it into a drawer. And we leave this one empty on purpose. That night, the city breathed easier. No drones. No surprise teasers. No blinking red lights in vents. Only Atlanta's usual noise, 1,000 little stories colliding without a curator, without a vault. Phones still buzzed. The internet still speculated. Someone, somewhere, still typed "own the scene" on a dim screen. But for the first time in weeks, the women slept through the rain. And in the morning, just as the sky began to brighten, a new video appeared on a brand new channel the three of them had created together. The title was plain, almost stubborn. We Tell It. No trailer voice, no pulsing graphics. Just the three of them at the boutique under warm light, looking into a single lens. No auto-tune on their voices. No spliced lines. No ghost producer. We're still here, Rasheeda said. We're still working, Spice added. And we're not done, Karlie finished, her smile steady this time. Then they thanked the city, thanked the fans, and cut the frame themselves. For a second, the screen held its last image like a breath. Then it went black. Because they told it to. The first 24 hours after the We Tell It video felt like sunrise after a storm. But Atlanta never stays quiet for long. The comments poured in, thousands of fans, bloggers, even a few old enemies forcing out careful praise. "This feels real," one wrote. "No stunt, no producer voice." Another said, "A local radio host called it the reset button the city needed." But tucked between all the love were little barbs that pricked at the edges. Anonymous accounts asking where the hard drives were now, who had access to the vault inventory, whether Cassidy acted alone, whether a copy of the Season 3 cut still floated in the dark corners of the web. Rasheeda spent the morning in the boutique, deliberately ordinary. She checked shipment invoices, signed off on a restock, fussed with a mannequin's belt. Karlie drifted in mid-afternoon with a to-go cup and sunglasses, wearing the kind of casual that still looked like a billboard. "You sleeping?" Rasheeda asked. "Like a baby that owes rent," Karlie said, then cracked a tired smile. Spice arrived a few minutes later with a folder of paperwork and a nonsense face. "Legal wants statements tightened and timestamps exact," she said. "No poetry, no feelings, just facts." They huddled at the counter and went line by line, tying every knot. It felt like therapy with homework. By evening, the first wave of mainstream press reached out. A morning show wanted an in-studio interview. A true crime podcast offered a multi-part series titled The Editor Who Ate the Show. A glossy magazine pitched a dual cover if the women would pose reclaimed, minimal, defiant. They chose one outlet, a sit-down with Atlanta Public TV. No sensational framing, no ambush graphics. "We'll do the rest when we want, not when they whistle," Rasheeda said, and the others nodded. That night, a small victory felt big. The We Tell It video crossed 1 million views in 12 hours. The comments pinned by the trio were plain. "Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying. We're okay." The simplicity landed like a warm towel over a bruise. And then, because the internet is a living organism with its own heartbeat, something odd happened. Fan edits began stitching together tender moments from the past decade. The soft cuts between big dramas, the sisterhood under the noise. People remembered. For a breath, the city looked at them with clean eyes. The breath didn't last. Around midnight, a new anonymous account appeared across platforms with the handle @OwnTheScene0. No profile picture, no bio, just an opening volley. A 7-second clip of a hand turning a key in a lock that wasn't supposed to exist. The caption read, "Did you audit every door?" The comments boiled instantly. Fans begged the women not to engage. Others begged them to go live and face it down. The account posted against 2 still images of a storage unit that wasn't the vault. The second image had a post-it note on a metal shelf with a single word written in block caps, "Return." By dawn, the unit had been located, another rental near the airport, registered under a shell company no one recognized. Security and the network sent a small team. The women watched the feed remotely from a conference room, coffee cooling on a tray, no one touched. The roll-up door creaked. Inside, nothing alive, only a neat geometry of boxes, labeled meticulously in black marker. S13 Raw B, Vault Dup C, Promo Outs, MISC, Rings, Props. The guard slit one open, pulled out a stack of solid-state drives in anti-static sleeves and a foam tray, holding 3 cheap ring boxes identical to the ones they'd seen. One box contained a plastic replica stone the size of a berry, glittering like it meant something. Taped beneath another sleeve was a white card printed in clean serif type. "The story returns to the ones who can carry it." Underneath, in the familiar thin script, the motto "Agnon the scene." "Cassidy can't be sending this," Karlie said quietly. "She's in custody, or glued to interviews." Spice rubbed her temples. Then she had disciples. The network tightened its grip on the drives, hauling every box to forensics. A cybersecurity firm wiped out the fake accounts one by one, but for every handle deleted, 2 more appeared. "Mirrors make mirrors," the card had warned. Amid the noise, they built something real. Behind-the-scenes clips showed hands soldering, stones being set, not drama but craft. They interviewed the woman who engraved Unwritten, an artist from Decatur who'd lost her studio and rebuilt from her garage. The comments poured in. "This is the Atlanta I know," one said. "This healed something I didn't realize I held," said another. Even honesty felt dangerous now, but they kept risking the light. When their public TV interview aired, the studio glowed clean, stripped of spectacle. The host asked, "What's it like living outside an edit?" Karlie said, I'm learning to hear my own voice before I hear the cut. Spice added, we used to think mess made us money, now we want to see if peace pays. Rasheeda closed it softly, we won't be perfect, but we will be ours. When it ended, the crew clapped the way people do when they see truth slip through. Outside, a producer chased them down with a small velvet pouch. Inside was a micro SD card labeled Only Listen. A local tech loaded it safely and pressed play. The voice that filled the room was calm, human. My name is Cassidy Martin, it said. I didn't start alone, and I didn't start with you. She described secret chats inside the network where editors competed to make chaos, slicing stories into sharper lies. We told ourselves it was storytelling, she said, but it was a daily dare to cross one more line. She named names, producers, vendors, dates. She laid a clean timeline and let silence speak. When the recording stopped, no one moved. The tech said, that's Kalelo big. Spice wiped her eyes. She's confessing because she lost control. Rasheeda shook her head. Maybe she's confessing because control never fed her. They handed the file to counsel. By nightfall, the network sent out an internal memo on apology without excuses and an audit plan with names. Productions froze. Headlines called it a reckoning. In the days that followed, the story shifted. A former cast member brought flowers to the boutique and left a note reading, "No cameras on this one." A gospel singer reposted their clip with the caption, "The truth is a melody." A blogger who once mocked them apologized publicly. Maybe we all took the lazy laugh too long. They filmed again, but on their terms, community visits, school grants, panels on editing ethics. The views came slower, but they lasted longer. No more spikes, just steady belief. One evening, the boutique glowed in sunset gold. Rasheeda was locking up when a teenage girl ran in, breathless, holding an envelope. My aunt worked in post, she said. She kept things because she was scared to say no. I think you should have this. Inside was a faded Polaroid of an old writer's room whiteboard. At its base, truth, character choice. At the top, spectacle, circled, with the words, the easiest one, fight the urge. Rasheeda smiled through a laugh. Then we rebuild on the bones. Days later, they hosted a private screening in the boutique, a short film titled We Tell It. 20 minutes of honesty. No music, no filters. It ended with the three women laughing in folding chairs. When the lights came up, no one cheered. They breathed. Some cried quietly. Someone whispered, "Thank you." Afterward, Spice hummed the closing song while stacking chairs. Karlie swept confetti. No one remembered falling. Rasheeda's phone buzzed. Dan, unknown number. 2 words. Good cut. She typed back, "We know." Atlanta woke brighter the next morning. The jewelry line sold out. The network's audit turned up rot and cleaned it without noise. The shadow chat vanished. For once, peace didn't feel temporary. That night, the three women sat barefoot on the boutique floor with takeout and laughter. 50 pages of this month, Karlie said. It's practically a novel. Spice grinned. And the sequel is peace. But peace rarely stays still. Hours later, each of them got the same message again. Good cut. Same timestamp. Same number. Maybe Cassidy. Maybe someone else. Every time we close the story, somebody finds a new edit, Rasheeda said. Atlanta's media had moved on, but the shadow of the show lingered. Then a rumor dropped. A recovered folder titled EP 403, The Last Scene. 19 minutes, alternate ending. A short teaser appeared online, no faces, just footsteps and a voice saying, "Take 2." It vanished within hours, but the fear stayed. VH1 confirmed the drives weren't empty. Files had been modified after the raid. "We'll call if we find something," an investigator said, which didn't calm anyone. Rasheeda stayed busy. Spice poured emotion into a new single, Uncut, singing, "No camera gets the full of me. No edit gets to tell of me." It hit the charts fast. But the unease didn't leave. One afternoon, Rasheeda's laptop camera blinked on by itself. She called her tech again. He found a remote trace persistent, bouncing through offshore servers. "Whoever's doing this knows the trade," he warned. She texted the others, "Careful what you open." They joked back, but the laughter was thin. Weeks later, a letter arrived at the boutique. Handwritten, no return address. "Dear narrator," it read. "Every story circles back to its start. Every diamond was carbon before light found it. Maybe this was never about theft or fear. Maybe it was about teaching the mirror to speak. Season 4 begins when you press record." No signature. Spice rolled her eyes. Somebody's got too much poetic time. Karlie traced the handwriting. "It looks like Cassidy's, but smoother." They didn't share it online. They just kept moving. Spring came early. They launched a podcast called Unwritten. Just conversation, what the industry took, what they let it take. It became a hit, not for drama but for truth. Emails began arriving from old editors and producers. I worked in the vault. I have copies if you ever want them back. They didn't answer, but they saved them all. On the anniversary of the scandal, the network aired The Long Cut, a documentary. The women approved themselves. No sensationalism, no villains, just reality. Rasheeda closing the boutique, Karlie laughing off camera, Spice singing alone in a booth. When it ended, the credits rolled plain and quiet. For once, the truth didn't need music. But at midnight, the old anonymous channel flickered alive. A black screen counted backward from 60. Then flashed a photo of the three of them at the boutique window, taken from across the street. In the corner, faint words, owned by truth. Then it vanished. No trace, no source. Rasheeda just looked out at the night and said, "Let them watch. The show's ours now." Atlanta exhaled. No lights, no lenses, just life. And now you're here, watching the story that began with a ring and turned into a reckoning. What started as scandal became survival, and survival became creation. They learned what so many forget, that truth outlives the edit. That piece can go viral if you let it. If you've followed this journey from the beginning, you've seen what happens when women take back the frame, when gossip turns to growth, when the mess becomes the message. You've seen how pain turned into purpose, how noise turned into narrative, how the story came home. So before this ends, pause, breathe. Think about the crooked frame, the lost footage, the way they stopped running from the cut and started shaping it. Think about the words written on that old whiteboard. Truth, character, choice, and fight the urge. Maybe that's the real lesson. Fight the urge to believe every headline. Fight the urge to make someone else's pain your entertainment. Fight the urge to edit yourself smaller. Because if these women taught us anything, it's that control isn't power, clarity is. And if this story reached you, say so. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share what moment hit hardest: Cassidy's confession, the We Tell It film, or that single message that said "good cut." Every word you write keeps their truth alive. Like, subscribe, share, not for hype, but for history. Because this isn't just the end of a show, it's the start of something cleaner. Atlanta's still rolling, but now the cameras belong to the people in the frame. So remember, truth might take its time, but it always finds the lens. And when someone tries to rewrite yours, say it with them. We tell it.